Going live and preparing our live stream. Okay, welcome to another sales chat. My name is John Golden from Sales Pop Online Sales Magazine and Pipeliner CRM. And today we are going to be joined by, Brian Sullivan of the Sandler Group in just momentarily. Okay. I'm joined as usual by my colleague, Martha Neumeister, who is in lovely Vienna. How are you doing, Martha?
Hi, I'm fine, thanks.
Yeah. Martha just came back from just an exciting trip to New York. So she's all like refreshed and ready to go, right, Martha?
Correct. Totally correct.
All right, so today's sales chat is about major account retention, okay? And let's face it, there's very few businesses out there that can afford to lose some of their major accounts. They're normally the mainstay of anybody's revenue, and going into a new year, they're the first revenue numbers you put down on your budget and your forecast for the next year. So losing a major account can be quite catastrophic to any organization, and that's what we want to talk about today. So before we start, if you want to join in the sales chat, all you need to do is go #SalesChats. That's #SalesChats on Twitter, and Martha will be running the Twitter chat, and we'll be good to go, and you can join in the conversation, give your insights, give your input, ask questions, whatever you want to do, just get involved, okay? All right, so in just a moment, we'll be kicking off the sales chat, and Brian will be joining us. All right, and for those of you who aren't aware of what Sales Chats and Sales Pop is, salespop.net is online sales magazine where you can find lots of experts and thought leaders from across the globe who share their insights with us and their content. It's updated on a daily basis. We have the largest collection of expert interviews and podcasts with really fascinating people from sales thought leaders, marketing, leadership, motivation, you name it, they're there. Hundreds and hundreds of videos. They're short to the point, and I really encourage you to go to salespop.net and check us out. All right. So you'll have to bear with us for a moment here. I think Brian is having a little bit of technical difficulties, but we'll be right with you with the major account retention in just a moment. All right, here we go. Perfect timing. Look at that. I say it and Brian appears. So Brian Sullivan is the Vice President of Sandler Enterprise Selling at Sandler Training, which is an international sales training and consulting organization. So welcome, Brian. How are you doing?
John, how are you doing? Sorry for the delay there. My apologies.
Yeah, no worries, not at all. Okay, so Brian, let's get straight into it. I've already warmed up the audience. I've exhausted all my jokes. So let's start with the general question about major account retention. Like, so when you talk about major account retention, what do you mean, and why does it matter so much?
Yeah, so that's a great starting point, John, to follow up on all your jokes. So the statistics are pretty compelling, and we've all heard them, that most organizations generate 80% of their business from 20% of their clients, or something in that vicinity. And winning a new large account, as we've all heard, can cost you up to 20 to 30 times as much as keeping a current one. So even a small increase in your ability to keep your current clients drives your revenues and profit at exponential numbers. But on the negative side, when you drop your ability to keep accounts, that there's a concurrent drop in those percentages and revenues, which really can kill an organization. And I mean, John, you've been a sales guy for a long time, so have I, and we all know how it hurts when you lose a major account, both personally and financially. So those are the really key points as to why it's important.
Yeah, and I think part of the problem, and this is obviously what we want to talk about today. I mean, I guess part of the problem is that sometimes we take major accounts for granted, particularly if they've been with us for a while. And we go and we're doing our budget or our forecast for next year, and we put down, say, ABC account. Oh yeah, that's going to come in with the same amount of revenue, maybe a little more than last year, but maybe we haven't done enough strategic planning. Maybe we haven't done enough forensics on it. So how would you advise, when you talk to organizations, how do you advise them to make sure that they are servicing their major accounts properly, but they're also keeping their finger on the pulse of any changes that may be happening?
Yes, that's a great point. Human nature being what it is, you do tend to neglect the major accounts that've been with you for a while, in much the same way as sometimes you neglect the deals in your pipeline that are 80 or 90%. And you know what happens when you don't focus on them. So what we suggest is that obviously you know your accounts as best you can. You focus on those major accounts, but that you build a framework, you build a retention framework that gives you a roadmap for the things that are most important to keeping each account. And it can be different one account to the other. And that this framework that you follow, a retention framework, if you will, is something that your entire organization focuses on, not just the salespeople, but your delivery and service people as well.
So, okay, that's interesting. So, what is that retention framework look like? What are some of the key elements of it?
Yeah. So, and again, differs from one account to the other, but we suggest that you build a customized framework, and some of the key components, might be, your coverage of the relationships in the buyer network. How effectively are you mapped to the myriad of individuals in a major account? And then, of course, do you have high-level executive relationships? Can you go C-level to C-level? Your ability to do that, and then your overall relevance in the account. How effectively do you cover it? Are you serving different areas, different departments, different divisions, or are you just, feeding at the trough of a one-off? And then on the other side of the kind of land and expand strategy, if you will, how many different offerings from your solution portfolio are you bringing to the account? Again, not just one area that you're serving, but how many different solutions are you bringing? Because if you're simply delivering one product, one service, one solution, you are seriously vulnerable. And then it's about your wallet share, if you will, to use a bit of a crass term. But what proportion of really winnable, eligible business are you actually winning? It's, the opportunities that are teed up for you. How many of those are you actually walking away with and winning? And then maybe from a very tactical level, we look at some of these things strategically, but at the end of the day, what's the current duration of your contract with the account? You may be doing all these other things really well, but if you're on a 3-year deal that's ending next month, all that stuff falls away if you're going to be out the door contractually. Those are a few of the key areas, John.
Yeah. So let's talk about the first one that you mentioned there about knowing the other people in the account, because this is something I think that happens a lot, is that people forget that the people who maybe influenced the original deal, maybe they've moved on to other things, maybe new people have come in, maybe there are departmental changes, but maybe the people that you are in contact with most, maybe they've stayed the same, but the universe around them has changed and you're not keeping up with that.
Yeah, so that's a great point, John. You've seen the figures and the statistics that, now when deals are done with major accounts, the numbers of people that are involved.
Yeah.
And of course, as you mentioned, the longer you're engaged with an account, and if you really do land and expand, you have so many different touch points. And so this buyer network brings people with different functional perspectives. You know, maybe your first opportunity to work with an account was with the finance group. So you're dealing with people who have kind of numbers perspectives on the world. And then you have an opportunity to work with marketing, totally different functional perspective that you need to take into account.
Mm-hmm.
But to complicate the issue further, you're dealing with people with different behavioral profiles.
Yeah.
And John, I'm sure you're familiar with, the DISC and the Myers-Briggs of the world.
Sure.
You know, when you're dealing with a smaller number of people or a people in one area, typically the behavioral profiles tend to be similar. And so you and your sales team align to that profile. But in spreading out in an organization, you can be dealing with different behavioral profiles, which puts the onus on you to be more effective in dealing with them, in communicating with them effectively. And if you don't take that into account, it can be a major obstacle for you in growing an account.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think also part of that too is that these decisions nowadays, buying decisions, are rarely made in isolation in terms of it. You don't so much see like single departments or just one or two people. You see, obviously, as we've seen, like groups of people involved in the buying decision. But also, I think nowadays, because technology is such an integral part of what goes on, that the interconnectedness across departments is important. So you need to be understanding all of that as well. And coming back to something else you said about expanding the relationship, like the upsell or the greater wallet share. I think sometimes when you have an account and it's been there for a while and it's a big account, you there's this natural reluctance to rock the boat a little bit, as opposed to look for more opportunities, right?
Yeah, well, it's human nature, especially when you're envisioning from a sales perspective that there's this cash cow that's simply going to be there forever. But the bottom line is, if you are a one-off to the account, you are seriously vulnerable, because the value that you deliver to the account has to be growing as well as you think your revenue has to be growing. If you're not delivering additional value, then the client has every right to call you out on it. But the problem is they're typically not going to call you out on it. You're simply going to find out sooner or later that your business is diminishing dramatically because you have competitors who've been targeting that account, mind you, because they know that you're in there. And as they target the account and they make their inroads, if you're simply sitting there doing what you've been doing for years and years, you're going to be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think one of the other things, and it's a phenomena that we're seeing more and more now, is that, and especially anybody who's in technology or selling technology, is once upon a time, switching costs used to be a big inhibitor to replacing an incumbent. Okay. However, nowadays, switching, it has become so easy. And so therefore, to your point, Brian, if you are not really working the account constantly, if you're not trying to expand it, deepen it, make sure all the pieces are in place, you become very swappable and very easily swapped. And there is not the same barrier to switching as there used to be.
Oh, John, I spent 30 years with Capgemini before coming to Sandler. So I remember the days, when there were wonderful technical solutions being developed by companies, but butting up against, for example, IBM, trying to convince an account that switching from an IBM platform to them made sense. You're talking about, sea changes of technology. But today, as you say, things are so interoperable. The ability to switch from a technology standpoint and from a business standpoint forces you to be on top of your game in terms of every account.
Yeah, and therefore, I mean, I think it's critical, obviously, that you not only are on top of your account, but you're adding value in there. And I think that means that you have to spend more time understanding the landscape of your customer's business. And the other thing is, like, business is so dynamic today. Things are changing so rapidly. If you take a look inside your own organization, anybody who's listening or watching, I guarantee if you took a look back over the last 6 months, year, 2 years, you'd say, wow, things have changed a lot in here. Well, those same kind of changes are happening at your major accounts as well. So that's why you have to really be engaged and understanding what's happening in their industry, what's happening in their business, and just keeping your finger on the pulse, because otherwise you could be just washed away by change.
Yeah, that's a great point, John. And these accounts have every right to expect that of you, because remember, again, these are your major accounts. These are from a Pareto standpoint, the accounts that are feeding you 80% of the revenue. So, if you don't have a vertical focus, if you don't have your sales team engaged with your delivery team on a day-by-day basis, if your delivery team doesn't understand the sales objectives and the sales team, the delivery objectives, you are seriously in jeopardy, because there needs to be a concert. It needs to be an account team focused on the organization, its vertical interests, its commercial interests, in order for you to stick around, because you constantly, as I said before, have competitors out there just waiting for their opportunity. They'd love to steal it from you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So how do you, and when you work with organizations, then how do you help them to get the balance right and put enough attention on their existing and major accounts? Because, as you said earlier, there's that natural inclination, the hunter mentality, to want to be chasing after new business and sort of go, well, I caught this one, it's in the corral, it's all good. Let me go run around the hills trying to find something else. How do you, when you work with them, how do you get them to strike the right balance between you're going after new business and really taking care of the business they have?
Yeah, and that's a challenge with a lot of organizations, as you know, John, because selling organizations tend to be, functionally focused as well. And, the dreaded handoff from sales to delivery that sends the sales team, off into the mountains to slay the next dragon, and leaves the delivery team staring at the statement of work and figuring out, all right, what the heck do we need to do? They put their heads down. They might do a great job in producing the deliverables for a 6-month contract, but when the 6-month contract is over, they collect the ID badges, and you're out in the parking lot looking up at this building that was great promise, and now you're out. That's why there's sense certainly to a handoff, but not detaching with an axe, right? It's keeping the sales team engaged and making certain that your delivery team, has some sales skills. Your delivery team understands the importance of growing an account. Perhaps making certain that their compensation plans reflect account growth, so that they're focused not only on delivery excellence, but that account growth is part of what they do. Because remember, that's not a self-serving focus. Your accounts, your major accounts, expect you to grow. They made a commitment to you when they gave you the business, a commitment among other really quality alternatives. And their expectation is that you're going to find every opportunity to deliver value to them. That has to be your mindset. If your mindset from a sales and delivery standpoint is that you're simply there to focus on the deliverables and the SOW, you are sunk from the beginning. The account expects you to find other ways to serve them, and that needs to be your mindset.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other part of that too is that you need to look, as you say, you need to look at the delivery and implementation, and then the servicing the account later is all part of the selling process. It's just an extended part or part of the customer experience. And the experience that they have during the sale, that needs to continue. So there needs to be a consistent experience. So because it's fine to hand off to implementation, as long as the customer doesn't feel like there's a huge change in the way they're being dealt with, or the attention they're getting, or whatever. If there's a big contrast between the two, that's not a good thing. It needs to be a consistent experience, right?
Yeah, that's a great point. And another way that works well, John, as I'm sure you're aware, is not only to see to it that sales remains engaged in delivery, but that in the sales process, in the pursuit, you wrap in some of your delivery team members, because certainly, and again, we're talking technology. When you're selling to high-level technology folks and CIOs, they relate really effectively to your technology people because that's how they grew up. So by bringing your delivery people into a pursuit, then you're kind of laying the groundwork, giving the prospect a vision into what you'll be like to work with as a business partner moving forward. So it's involving delivery in the sales process and also involving sales clearly in the delivery engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great advice, Brian. And before we finish up, we always like to ask our guests on the sales chat, your power tip. What is the one thing that you do every day to set yourself up for success? So
I think it's about understanding not only the accounts, because we're talking about accounts now, John, but it's having that same type of client service mentality in working with people. In working with people on your team, people helping you serve clients and helping you win business, and the individuals in your client accounts, because we tend to get tied up into thinking of, well, it's a large pharmaceutical account, and that's true. And so you need to understand all the vertical things that are important to that, but understanding the fact that Debbie is one of your key clients, or that John is one of your key clients. Treat people as people and treat them as clients. And it's highly likely you'll earn the right to win the business that you should, and be clear about the business that should go somewhere else.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice. Listen, Brian, this has been fantastic. Martha, the good Twitter chat today. Sorry, Martha.
Very good. Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yes, excellent. Listen, Brian, thank you very much. It's Brian Sullivan of the Sandler Group. Brian, just before we go, do you want to tell people a little bit more about Sandler and how they can learn more about what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, John. So Sandler, we're an international organization delivering services in 30 countries. We play in the enterprise space. We work with small and medium-sized businesses. We're very active now with the Sandler Research Center. If you want to find out more about Sandler, go to sandler.com. We've got a really nice website, really easy to work with. And if I can help anyone, feel free to reach out to me, connect with me on LinkedIn, join the Sandler Enterprise Selling LinkedIn group, and happy to have you and happy to engage and help in any way that I can to anyone.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Brian. And Brian's a regular, and we're very grateful for his contributions to Sales Pop. So you can read great insights from Brian on a regular basis on Sales Pop. All right, then. This has been another Sales Chats. My name is John Golan from Sales Pop Online Sales Magazine and Pipeliner CRM. Goodbye from me and my colleague Martha in beautiful Austria, Vienna. Probably getting a bit chilly over there now, is it, Martha? Any snow yet?
It's right now. It's snowing.
Oh, there you go. So
yeah.
white Christmas for Martha. And Brian, again, thank you for joining us today, and thanks everyone listening in and the people who will watch this later. Thank you.